So the Thunder are good. Exactly how far behind OKC is Denver? Plus, where do they stand in the West? And we'll look at that through the framing of the cup. Does this extended break for the Nuggets, is that going to help them or hurt them in getting into rhythm / getting rest? And a deep dive on Denver's defense. Ryan thinks that they're actually pretty okay. I don't. We'll talk about it here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us, making us part of your day, being with us every day, being an everydayer. That's a lot of days. We do appreciate it. It's awesome to have you here. We're so glad that you made us part of your day. We're so glad that you made us part of your life. We're glad to be a part of your life. Welcome in. Come on in. Get in here. Come in for a nice little Locked On hug here on Locked On Nuggets. Want to let you know today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I run two Substacks, the Hardwood Paroxysm Substack and the Denver Dig at thedenverdig.com. His name is Ryan Blackburn. He's at Mile High Sports. You should check out his great writing over there. He's got a piece up about Denver's defense that I'm going to argue with him about here in about 15 minutes. And you can catch him on the Pickaxe and Roll podcast. Swipa did a show on Wednesday morning / afternoon that's really awesome. People have really responded to it. It talks about all sorts of trade stuff. People love talking about trades. This show is not going to be about that because Swipa talked about it. So if you want to listen to trade talk about your Denver Nuggets, go listen to the episode with Swipa on this channel, either at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets or wherever you get your podcast. Also, hey, join the thousands. We are screaming in on 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, but do want to let you know this. Go in the car, walking around, get the audio version too. We'd love to have you on our audio side too. Download the podcast, subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Give us those 5-star reviews if you're on Apple, which most of you are.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate it. On today's show, we're going to, as I kind of mentioned, we're going to just absolutely go. We're going to brawl over the Nuggets defense because I did some research today and it is not good. And Ryan did some some research and he thinks it's not bad. So we're going to argue whether it's not good or not bad. Not good. We're not going to argue it's good or bad, just not good or not bad is what we're going to argue. We'll talk about the extended break here at the Nuggets, but we'll start here, Ryan. The Oklahoma City Thunder outpaced the Dallas Mavericks. Mavericks dealing with a lot of illness going through their locker room right now. No Maxi Kleber, no PJ Washington, who are two absolutely pivotal players, I think, in that matchup. But OKC does get the win and proves once again that they're the class of the Western Conference. From the prism of the NBA Cup, 4 teams made it. There's 3 teams left. Oklahoma City, the Houston Rockets, and Golden State Warriors play tomorrow night. How does the cup play frame your view of the Nuggets right now?
Yeah, it's always interesting to kind of use this as a prism of the moment. And if we look at last year, obviously the Lakers and the Pacers were the 2 teams that ultimately made it into that championship. It's not necessarily an indication that these teams are going to be great in the playoffs. That's not what anybody's really trying to say here, but just getting to watch really high level basketball in November and December is kind of rare. It's not something that happens all the time. And we got to watch Dallas and OKC tonight. Dallas really tried. They broke out a variety of things. The problem is that OKC was relentless double teaming Luka Doncic, and Luka had a horrible night overall. I think Quinn Cook tweeted that he quit on his team, which I thought that's kind of interesting. But just in general, OKC looks like an absolute menace right now, especially on the defensive end. We knew that they were going to be that, but they're just a relentless team. And they have so many waves that they can come at you with. Aaron Wiggins and Lou Dort and Alex Caruso and Kaysen Wallace and just all of these layers of different options. Kenrich Williams got off the bench tonight and was great for them, especially in that first half. Imagine having Kenrich Williams in Denver. It's not like they had him in Denver at one. Oh, never mind. But I do think that there's just a difference in the feel between those 2 franchises right now and where the Nuggets are at. And I think it is tangible, and it's going to take a while for Denver to feel like they can get to that level again.
We're going to do a show that's just going to be why didn't Michael Malone play these guys more over players better than them team. It's going to be like Jay Huff, Kenrich Williams.
I will say about Kenrich Williams, that was a
Vanderbilt.
summer league thing. Like he never actually was on the Nuggets full-time roster. If he would have been, he would have played. That would have been the Torrey Craig special right there. That's for sure.
Jay Huff at power forward, Thomas Bryant at center. JaVale. Oh God, the JaVale.
Bones.
The JaVale days. Oh boy. All right. So OKC is relentless in their defense. They do have the best defense in the league by a fair margin over Orlando.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting though is when I look back, they actually don't have like the best defense of like the last 5 years. They're like third or fourth in like the last 7 years in terms of right now. And with a small sample, that's actually not very promising. It's like, oh yeah, they're like the best defense this season, but that just means that like most of the defenses haven't been as effective. Their offense has been really kind of the issue, but Ryan, guess what? We're going to guess they shoot 46% from the field tonight. That's not amazing.
Not great. That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Jalen Williams was 8 of 21. Isaiah Hartenstein was 5 of 11. But do you know what, Ryan?
What?
They took 53s.
Weird.
And the Mavericks took 36. And the Mavericks made 15. And the Thunder made 20. And like, when you do a daily show about a team, and I think this is probably true about any of the Locked On shows, you are going to talk about the same things over and over again. Like we are now doing under the new empire. We are now doing like 6 to 8 shows a week.
Yeah.
And I love doing them, and I love the energy that we're bringing on these shows. But one of the things is that we have to return to some of the same topics. And this is one of the things is OKC's offense does not have to be as good as Denver's because OKC is going to shoot and make more threes. So if OK's defense is as good as OK's defense is, and they have the 3-point advantage, how is Denver going to beat them 4 times out of 7 in a playoff series? Now, Denver beat OKC this season at home, beat them, right? It's one series is 1-1. I'm not saying that there is no chance, but for me, this is more like this is the types of teams that they are. It's more like Denver has a chance to upset OKC because they have the best player in the world, and OKC has some flaws. I do think OKC has some flaws. But like over the course of a 7-game series, I've talked for years about how Denver has the most they have the most problem-solving ability. I think this is the thing. They have a problem they can't solve right now, and it's the 3-point gap.
As a tough problem to have. And it gets worse when Murray's not shooting the way that he needs to, when Michael Porter, despite the fact that he attacked the rim really well in these last couple of games, is not shooting the ball as often from 3. Christian Brown's a low volume 3-point shooter. Aaron Gordon, same thing. Like there's just so little margin for error. And the Nuggets have to be perfect. They have to be perfect against these teams right now in order to really conceivably think that they have a chance. So that's a sad place for a team with the best player in the world to be. I think that just kind of going through this and going through this first part of the season, there really does need to be some sort of philosophical shift for Denver to get into the modern era. As much fun as Jokic ball is, and attacking the paint and abusing the paint and trying to get the best shot possible as close to the rim every single time, it is like one of the things that Denver has kind of gone away from is the fact that they need to keep up with the NBA because their offense is not as good as it was at its peak. And like Jokic is good, but the rest isn't.
Here's what I think is weird. It's like we were in burn it down mode after that Wizards loss, and I don't regret that at all. They lost the Wizards. Like I have on some level, I have to respond as the fans deserve after you lose to the Wizards. Like it would have been irresponsible for me to go on that show and been like, look, guys, it's one game. It's going to be fine. I can't do that for the fans after you lose to the Wizards.
Right.
But I think right now Houston is a better team. I don't know if I would pick them to beat Denver in a series, but I think Houston's a better team right now. I think they've earned that.
Yeah.
I think Dallas is a better team. I do think Dallas is a better team. And I think Phoenix at full strength is a better team. But like, I don't think Golden State's better. I think Golden State is about on par with Denver, even though the record says that, and the numbers say that the Warriors are significantly better. I'm not sure.
That's a matchup that I think Denver can solve, and they actually have had some really good games against Steph Curry and the Warriors, and that's just something I believe that they will be able to accomplish. But the Warriors were never the team that I was worried about. They were a team that I thought was going to win about 43 games this year, so I'm not really surprised by that. Memphis, where's Memphis at in that discussion?
I think Memphis is real. You know, I don't love the matchup because of Jaren trying to take on Yoke, but I will say, like, having Brandon Clark and then Jaren on the weak side, there's something to the AD defense if you have better personnel.
Brandon's not big enough. He's just not. Like, he's going to get muscled under the rim too much.
And you can do Edey.
Yeah, he might be too slow.
And Edey will get in foul trouble, right? Like, he's going to foul Edey out, but it's okay,
it's a layer.
If you can get through enough minutes, right? Like that's going to be like the program here. And on the other end of it, I think Memphis's offense is actually quite a bit better than actually the numbers suggest. There's some stuff I dove into where I was like, ooh, there's some really promising stuff here. And their depth is like so much better. I usually don't care about depth in a playoff series, but like they have different guys they can go to try and match up with you. Like they have options versus Denver doesn't. Like they just don't. Like, what if one of the players for Denver is unplayable versus Memphis for whatever reason? What if that matchup is bad for them? They're screwed.
Santi Aldama will win a game against Denver in a playoff series. He's been unbelievable this year overall. So I tend to think and agree with you that the tier where Denver is right now is somewhere in that second to third tier of Western Conference playoff contenders. It is not the first tier anymore. It is the second tier and maybe the third tier if you're getting really aggressive with it. Now, does it mean that they'll finish there? I don't know.
I enjoy this. Tim Joseph says Phoenix is the only team I fear. And then one minute later, Cedric says Phoenix isn't a threat. You're not going to be able to be like you can't talk. They are another team that you can't talk honestly about because of like your level of antipathy for Phoenix off of the Jamal thing.
I just watched them get just smoked in the playoffs last year, and I watched them like falter against Denver in the playoffs the year before. Like
different roster, different coach.
I mean, I love Budenholzer too. I'm not as much as you love Budenholzer, but I do think that there are some holes in their game, and the fact is that if Nurkic can't do it defensively against Jokic, then who can?
They are looking for upgrades there. I will say that I've heard that they are in the market. They're going for it this year. So we'll see what happens. Up next, Denver has another break. Like, they actually have like long breaks. Can they get healthy? Can they get everybody back? Is that good? Coming off the win versus the Hawks. We'll talk about that up next here on Locked On Nuggets. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. The Broncos are taking on the Colts this weekend. They are 4-point favorites versus the Indianapolis Colts. Colts have been one of the best teams in the league against the spread. I think this number is about right. I actually think it's probably a little light in Denver's favor in terms of, I think they should probably be 4.5 because I still give a very antiquated 2 to 2.5 points for home field. It's down to about 1.8 according to most sharp people, but I still give 2.5. I don't think that on neutral field the Broncos should be pick'em versus the Colts. I think that, or dogs. I think they should definitely be pick'em to a small favorite versus the Colts on neutral. So I think it's a little bit light. So I might have a bet on the Denver Broncos this weekend. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Got to bet on the Broncos. I mean, they're still chasing that division. No, wait, they're not. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Yeah, I jumped on that one. All right, back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us. Go to LockedOnDaily.com and you can sign up for our newsletter. We do stuff there every day. I am going to go against Swipa and have an entire article on our Locked On podcast that talks about why trading for Jimmy Butler is the dumbest idea possible. It's the dumbest idea.
Also, I want to point out on that. I think Bronco Squatch said that it was illegal, that it actually wasn't able to happen because the Nuggets can't accept back more money than they send out, and neither can Miami.
Right.
So both of those teams are, like, because they're kind of in that realm, can't actually make that trade. So can't happen anyway. It's so stupid. This entire CBA is just so dumb, man. Like,
I'm hoping they fix it. I'm hoping that they get together and are like, all right, well, maybe we've gone too far.
Kind of screwed up on this one a little bit. If you can't make that trade, like, come on.
Yep. Okay. So let's talk about this. The Nuggets have 5 days off.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to practice tomorrow. They didn't practice yesterday or today. Got 2 full days. Like, traveled home on Sunday night. Had all day off on Monday. All day off on Tuesday. They may have gotten in some light work yesterday. And now they actually get some time to practice. Aaron's back. Jamal, we'll see. What is your thought on rest versus rust here with the extended break that the Nuggets are going to get?
Well, every time the Nuggets have had extended rest, they've sucked. That's just a fact. That is what has happened so far this season. So I don't know. I don't really understand it. Part of it, like, you could have explained it away with that first absence from Jokic, that, okay, the team wasn't fully ready for what it was going to look like without him, and they lost that game against New Orleans and then against Memphis. But even when Jokic was back and they actually had 3 days off, they still lost to the Clippers, and they looked like they were, like, lost out there against a team that they should probably know pretty well. So I don't know what they're going to look like when they come back. And aren't they playing the Clippers again after a long break? That doesn't seem to do them very well. And I don't think it did them well last year either. So I don't know what it's going to look like. You hope that the health really gets them back there, but I'm kind of skeptical.
I think that it's very player dependent, and the team is going to be, I think, a little bit wonky in terms of that too. I will say that I talked to Aaron last year and was talking to him about what it's like when he gets a 3-day, at least, like, when he gets I think he got like 5 days off last year at one point. And I was like, what does that do for you? He was like, man, if I get 3 days off, you're going to get the best game from me. He's like, if I just had one more extra day, if we weren't playing every other day, if it was every other day, he's like, the performance would be so much better. He's like, you would not believe how much an extra day off helps you with recovery.
Interesting.
He's like, it's so much. And so I think Aaron probably will have a great game on Friday. Joker has been pretty insistent of, like, he hates the time off.
Yeah.
He hates it. He's like, I would rather just play every other day. Like, he wants that rhythm. I think, honestly, if you told Joker you're just going to play 82, I'm not even kidding. Joker would play 82 games in 82 days. Like, he would just be like, that's fine. He'd be like, that's fine.
He might be one of the best ever at playing that kind of style.
Because if you told him, hey, you only have to play for 2 months and then you get to go home. Like 2.5 months and you get to home. He'd be like, I'm down. Let's do it.
Awesome.
The job is done. We can go home now.
Murray guard Norman Powell, if he does come back from Don't Tell Santa Cruz, like, that's the matchup that Denver's been killed by, on top of James Harden just doing James Harden things with that matchup.
Norman's had a great season, man. But
he's
also,
been great against Denver.
Like, this is, I will also say, like, what they should do, honestly, Harden's always killed them. Like, Harden just, and honestly, a lot of that is Jokic. Like, that's legitimately, like, a lot of it is, like, Harden, Jokic has to give too much space, and Harden just, he annihilates. If you don't have a big that's super versatile and can just switch on him to deter him, Harden will pick you apart. Like that really is honestly a big reason why Harden was very good. It was like he really did it's not like he just like blew past Joker. It's more of just how Joker moves. Harden was able to manipulate. It really wasn't that much of Jamal. Now, when Harden ISOs versus Jamal, he blows past him anyway. Like, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, like, through the years, that's been a problem. I do think that if you're able to, like, really, I would also just very much say, look, put Christian on Norman Powell, sacrifice Jamal to Harden, and be fine with it.
Yeah, like, I mean, they're already going to hunt for that switch anyway. It just makes it a little bit more simple for you. Christian will be able to stay attached to Norman Powell a little bit better than he will to Harden. And like that's it just makes it more easy for Denver to kind of set their defense a little bit. So gonna be fascinating. I do think ultimately, like if Denver loses to the Clippers again at home, then they've got some explaining to do, despite the fact that the Clippers are a good team.
Well, how can those two things be true then?
Well, Denver should be good too. And they should be winning at home.
Denver's good as in like shouldn't lose to the Wizards.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they've obviously burned that bridge already. I'm not trying to sit here and say it, but like you can't lose after every extended break every single time. Like you gotta at least play good one time, don't you?
I think the matchup's tough. DTSC does say that they shouldn't. They did a very good job of actually adjusting to Harden, and they overcompensated. The other thing is that the Clippers play Harden in a staggered rotation.
Yeah.
And what happened was Julian got mashed up on him. And like that's really going to be the problem is like Julian should never be on the floor with Harden. Ever.
I would make Harden take 20 step back threes.
Like I would legitimately play Jalen Pickett over Julian Strother just to avoid Strother playing Harden. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. 20 step back threes and play drop. Do not get into rotation. Like, what are you doing? We've already done this song and dance.
Okay. Up next, we're going to dive into the defense because Ryan's got ideas. I've got better ideas, and we're going to battle them out here on Locked On Nuggets. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. I'm seriously thinking about this because my wireless bill just went up by another $15. Like I just keep noticing it creeping up. And I'm like, come on, what's going on here? Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with a premium wireless plan starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower than 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. We're also brought to you today by Game Time. Avs got another win tonight. That's 3 in a row.
Yep.
You want to go catch an Avs game at Ball Arena? They're awesome. You should also listen to our sister show, Locked On Avalanche, which is phenomenal. It's absolutely terrific. It's a really good show. I know because my wife tells me about it all the time about how great it is and never talks about how good our show is. It's phenomenal, though, and you can catch all sorts. I love going to Avs games. It is my favorite sporting event in Denver to watch. Next from when a certain team plays a certain football team. Other than that, it's my favorite sporting event to watch in Denver. I love catching the Avs. It's such a great atmosphere. I know I should say Nuggets games, but I'm spoiled by going to all those games. I love going to Avs games, but concert tickets, you got all of the holiday shows in town. There's so many cool ones going on. There's great stuff. You can all catch it with Game Time picks. Their curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. They get the lowest price guarantee. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, so you know that you're going to get the best prices. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Ryan?
Game time.
We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets.
It's my favorite part of that ad. It's always great. Always fun.
I started getting dry throat right during the middle of the ad read.
Oh, very nice. Well, I'm definitely right there with you, my friend.
Yeah.
We're both dealing with stuff. It's perfect timing because the Nuggets don't have a game until Friday.
Yeah, on the one hand, I'm like, PJ Washington, come on, what's wrong with you? You're sick. You can't play in this cup game. Come on. On the other hand, I'm like, I don't want a podcast. I don't feel good. All right, let's talk about the defense. I'm going to give you the floor here. Tell me why the Denver defense isn't as bad as maybe it looks.
Okay. I think we may have rushed the conversation that you and I had. And you're like, you know what? We're going to make this a talking point. You say the defense is good. No, that's definitely not what I'm saying. But what I will sit here and say is that the actual like numbers for Denver's defense from a like half court possessions standpoint is pretty good for Denver. That's what you usually look at when you're looking, hey, how can this defense translate to the playoffs? What are they looking like? And cleaning the glass, I think, has Denver in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken, for half-court defense. It actually goes up without Jokic, but I wanted to make this point to the chat, something that I said on Mile High Sports. If Denver could just score a basket with the bench, then their half-court defense, it's actually really good. It's really good. And they would be out of transition. They would not be in transition because they're not turning the ball over. They're not missing a bunch of shots. If they could just make some shots a little bit more frequently, I think the defense would look better. And like, because that's where you get those runs, right? That's where you get those 11-0 runs. And Michael Malone then has to call timeout. And everybody thinks, wait, what the hell happened? It was the offense, not the defense.
This is a very Adam Mares point. The offense is the solution for the defensive problems. So I used to argue with this with Adam all the time. So here's what I found, and I think it's like a really good way to kind of look at this. Denver's half-court offense or defense is almost entirely built around its ability to guard pick and roll. And what I mean by that is Denver is really good. Not great, but they're very good. They are 80th percentile in the league this season, guarding the pick and roll ball handler as a scorer. Okay, so I'll quantify this as much as possible. This is via Synergy Sports, and this includes possessions where the ball handler either shoots or turns the ball over or is fouled.
Okay.
So they're very good in those specific scenarios. When they are guarding those specific conditions, they are actually very good. They're 80th percentile. The problem occurs when they wind up guarding full pick and roll possessions. They go from 80th percentile in the league to 7th percentile in the league when you include passes. They are the third worst defense defending the pick and roll, including passes. This makes a lot of sense with the same stuff that we talk about all the time with the three-pointers.
Yeah.
They stop the initial action. They're not getting killed because Jokic is playing drop. And guys, the idea of guys cooking Jokic and getting to the rim is not accurate. That is not what is happening. As a matter of fact, when Jokic is defending the pick and roll ball handler in those schemes, the result is a 57th percentile, which given the amount that he's defended, which is 178 possessions, is really good. Yeah. Opponents are trying to score on Jokic and as a pick and roll ball handler are scoring 0.85 points per possession. That's an 85 offensive rating. That's miserable. Yeah. Now, Now, okay. Santa Cruz is talking about the bench again. Dude, here's what I'm going to tell you. If you go back through all of these games and you look at all of these losses, you know what you're not going to see? You're not going to see Jokic plus, bench minus. That was last year. Okay? This year, what you're going to see is Jokic sometimes plus, bench minus. And sometimes it's Jokic minus, bench minus. Sometimes it's Jokic minus, and the bench minus. Like, there are problems with the starting unit. The starters are awesome in net rating because of how good their offense is. But the defense in particular, if we're talking about from a playoff perspective, you have to look at these things holistically. And there are issues with the starting unit defensively. One of the things I looked at today, and I shared this data on Twitter, and people were like, it's 22 minutes or possessions, I forget, whichever. The defense without Christian really melts down. Now, if they play more with Aaron and Joker without Christian, it's not going to be as bad as it looks. But one of the things that's very apparent is that when they do not have Christian, it melts down. And that also makes sense with what Ryan's talked about, which is they need another perimeter defender. And like, this gets back to the whole KCP thing. Is like, it's not that they needed KCP instead of Christian Brown. It's that they needed KCP and Christian Brown.
I mean, Justin Holiday, if you're worried about money, Justin Holiday was the guy. That's a minimum contract opportunity right there. So I think Neil Isaac is right. Honestly, I think that the SAG rotations where the guy is rotating to the backside, to the weak side, and trying to protect the rim behind Joker, those have been too deep. And they have been getting into rotation as a result of that over and over and over again.
So Isaac asked, is it because of overhelping? And what Ryan's talking about is what is happening. Your wing defender, so let's say they're running high pick and roll and there's two guys in the corners, okay? The Nuggets scheme has always, and this has been going back, I mean, a decade.
Nearly a decade at this point.
Under Malone. And this is a problem under Shaw too, so I don't want to make it just about him. It's a problem league-wide, is that guys will overhelp because what you're trying to teach guys is don't be early, don't be late. You want to show early so that the guy driving is like, oh, I can't drive. There's multiple defenders there. But if you're too early, you can't recover to the corner if they hit that pass. This is why I make such a big deal all the time about how Jokic executes at the level of the screen. Again, Jokic is doing everything. This is the best start in NBA history. You cannot ask him for anything more. He is the only reason they are above 500. He is basketball god. I am not debating any of that. I am going to say if you're going to run this scheme, what you can't do is you can't play 2-on ball soft. If you play 2-on ball soft, all you're doing is moving two defenders out of the space where there are going to be four guys offensively. Like, you're just giving them 4-on-3 every single time. If you bring two up and you play soft, it is 4 offensive players and 3 defenders out of position. Yeah. And you're either giving up layups or you're giving up threes. And one of the problems, Ryan, is that they're giving up both.
Yeah.
Their points in that, like, that to me is the proof that this defense is largely like worse than I think the numbers indicate, is that they are one of the worst teams in giving up points in the paint. They've gotten a little bit better on that end, but they're still really bad. And they give up a high volume of threes. And that to me is like, that's a really bad combination. So I have this number 2 from Synergy of spot up possessions, 3-point attempts allowed per game. And Denver is 7th worst in that category. They give up the 7th most spot up 3-pointers per game. Now, Golden State is giving up the 2nd most, which is another reason why I don't think actually Golden State's actually that good. But this is the whole thing. Denver's basically what they're trying to say is we're not going to give up the paint, but they are giving up the paint and they're giving up the 3. And you're going to have to decide between those two things. Cutting off the head of the snake as far as defending the ball handler well isn't going to get you home, especially in a playoff series when guys trust each other more and when you play better teams.
Teams are too good now. They are just too good, too versatile. They've seen enough of these coverages. I think that the best thing for Denver to do right now is probably to just go to more of a traditional drop. I think that Joker would be saved a little bit more physically in that moment. Guys would be staying home. There would be fewer rotations in general. Ball handlers would go off a little bit more. And you might even see some of the pick and roll guys, like the roll bigs, have some big nights against Joker. And yet, I think playing that coverage as much 2-on-2 as possible is a good thing for Denver. And it allows them to, I think, normalize that 3-point number just a little bit better, because you want guys driving and staying inside the arc as much as possible, because that's where Denver's losing so many of these games, as we've talked about. So that would be my advice. I'm not a head coach.
Right.
I've never played in the NBA, but I do think that the most important thing for Denver right now is to ease up this math game. And that's the analytics brain in me.
I mean, yeah, this is a lot of it is like, I'm never going to, like, I say this all the time. Coaches have forgotten more than I'm ever going to learn about basketball.
Yeah.
But when I look at this and I'm like, all right, here's what the numbers are telling you that you're losing. Like, this is where the numbers tell you you're losing. And this is where, if you go back and you watch, it's not possible for you to watch the clips and not see this. Like, anybody can see this. I think you got to do something about it. And I am kind of with you that, like, I can't believe I'm saying this. They're probably better off with drop. A high drop, but a drop.
Yeah, like you mix in different things, and the goal should be to never give opposing teams the same look for an entire game. Like, you should be trying different things, seeing what works, and then like making sure that your team is good enough at all of these coverages so that the defense is good enough in the playoffs. But right now they're playing one style on the defensive end, or they are playing zone, and their zone is not good.
Zone is not good. All right, that's gonna do it for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys have a great week. Swipe will be with you with Ryan tomorrow. Swipe versus Gripe on Friday. Friday night Clippers reaction, where Ryan gets mad because they lost the Clippers again.
Yep.
And then we're off and running. I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you go to youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. Subscribe to our newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.
They lost to